Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Dr. Nousheen Zakaria and I am your host for the Coworking Spaces.com, a global digital community space for co-working spaces to come together to grow, thrive, and explore. And today we have a co-working space founder and CEO Ahmed Mehenti with 6 locations and 600 members. He's the founder of Workhall. Let's welcome Ahmed today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Okay, so Ahmed, can you tell me how you started Workhall? I know that you were based in Metropole, right? You were doing some work, you were employed there, and then you kind of took over Metropole.
So how did that start? Not a lot of people know this. This is probably going to be a bit long.
Yeah.
But I am actually an accountant by profession, chartered accountant. And I had been working with PwC for around 5 years.
Right.
In audits, mergers and acquisitions, transaction advisory, all that big stuff.
Right,
so
right. The things that I would never want to go into.
We've been on a lot of big deals, worked with a lot of banks, merged a lot of banks, closed a lot of banks.
Okay.
So then one such deal was such that Bank Alfala wanted to invest in one of, the companies. And they had hired PwC to actually conduct a due diligence on the assignment, right? So I was actually sharing a room with this person who also happened to be, a CEO of a company, right? So a company, a startup that was actually starting. So I used to help him, and it so happened that, they wanted me to come on board, right? So I had to leave PwC. I decided to leave PwC because, it was something interesting. It was a startup.
Yeah.
You
learn so much with startups. Right?
Yeah, you learn so much. And, I probably figured that, probably be good for the future. So it turned out that I sort of consulted for them and then joined them full time, only to later learn that the ship was sinking.
Yeah, the flip side of it, joining a startup.
Yeah, I mean, I had left such a lucrative career in probably private equity or all these fancy positions. But then, there was a point where, everyone had left, including the CEO. And I was actually alone in the building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it looks like a ghosted
it was.
Well, right?
It was just me and Nasir bhai who used to make tea for us. So I was like, Nasir bhai, don't you worry, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
So it was then that I convinced the landlord of the building that, we should actually do something about the building. And then, that's when the idea
it's such a landmark building.
Yeah,
right? And it was left vacant for
absolutely.
years.
It's called the Palace Cinema building, where we started from, our humble beginnings.
Yeah.
So, that's when the landlord and I sort of talked and flipped around ideas. And that's where we really sort of looked up to WeWork, right? So we wanted to do something similar and actually utilize the space so that, companies could come together and share the cost, share the burden of actually finding an office space.
Yeah.
And
so which year is that, Ahmed, that you started?
So this was 2017 where we were researching, and then 2018, late 2018, we sort of started.
Yeah, this is the very early days for co-working
spaces.
Very
early days, and not even co-working spaces, early days for any kind of startup. I mean, not a lot of people that actually knew
were in the zone of the startup.
Or they didn't even know what it felt like to actually start an own company. Startups का किसी को idea नहीं था कि क्या होता है, क्या होती है, मतलब वो तो लोग कहते हैं आप ये क्या आपने कर दिया.
Now it's become a trend. You all want to be like a startup entrepreneur and founder.
Yeah, I just don't like using those words. You just need to be able to know how to run a business.
Yeah.
आपको 100 रुपए पे 30 रुपए कमाने आना चाहिए. That is it. And then you build all the other glamorous words around this basic idea that आपको पैसे कमाने हैं. You don't need to burn money to make money.
Oh, that's such an important and thought, because I've counseled and mentored so many startups as well and founders, and they all talk about growth and where is this actually money coming from. And I always say to people that you have to make money first and then invest in the business. जब तक पैसा आपके पास आएगा नहीं, आप कैसे इन्वेस्ट करेंगे? तो जो पैसा आप कमा रहे हैं अपने काम में से, उसी को ही इन्वेस्ट करें. For example, like you said, आपको 100 रुपए पे 30 रुपए कमाने हैं, but if you are just spending on growth by some spending some investors' money, which is not even your own money, then what happens in a lot of cases is that they go bust and they're like,
I've seen so many examples, so many companies that are once a part of Workhall are now dust.
Yeah, just because of that. Yeah.
So that and
So
a
you
lot of
get
other
it, you need
things.
to get into the profitability zone and in the profitability mindset के हमें से पैसे बनाकर फिर उसमें से invest करने हैं. And the more I think you burn yourself out as well, and the kind of work that you do as well, and the kind of hard work that goes into it, then you have to make sure that the ship doesn't sink. It has to sail. It has to have a fluid
Absolutely,
flow.
yeah. That everyone thinks that it's as easy as setting up a small general store,
Absolutely.
kirane ki dukaan,
Absolutely.
because there are no barriers to entry
Yeah.
for a common mind. क्यों? क्योंकि उसको लगता है यार कोवर्किंग स्पेस है, एक इंटरनेट कनेक्शन है, टेबल है, कुर्सी है. मैं इस फर्नीचर वाले को जानता हूँ, कुर्सियाँ यहाँ से मिल जाती हैं. एक छोटी सी जगह देखनी, अपार्टमेंट है, उसको कन्वर्ट कर दें, but they don't realize.
मगर आई थिंक इससे ज्यादा क्या ये भी नहीं है कि you have to obviously stay on top of the competition, you have to keep giving the amenities to the members as well at the same time, है ना? क्योंकि you have to I mean just like a hotel, just like any other hotel business, you actually pay for the service that you get in a co-working space as well.
I'll tell you what you pay for. You pay for a comfortable bed. You pay for uninterrupted services.
Internet services that you can't guarantee in Pakistan, right?
Exactly. So in order for you to actually be successful in any business model, your product needs to work.
Right.
That is it. Your core needs to work. That is the only thing that we focus on. कि यार services आपकी जो आप सही चीज provide करो, सारी चीजें, whatever you're offering, that should just work.
Right.
Going above and beyond what you're offering, that could always be thought about at a later stage.
तो बेसिकली अब बहुत सारी amenities ऐसी भी हैं जो कि हम पाकिस्तान में रहते हुए उनको कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. मतलब there are some factors that are beyond us. जैसे कि आपने देखा कि अभी कुछ दिनों पहले, कुछ weeks पहले, there was like a shark attack and all of those things.
That
like,
keeps on happening.
पता नहीं चल रहा था कि shark ने काटी उतारे या VPN लग रहा था या क्या था. But at the end of that, I think बहुत सारी दफा ये होता है कि जब आप co-working space के अंदर काम कर रहे होते हो तो you kind of put that on the co-working space that आपका internet connection slow है, आपकी बिजली जा रही है, all those things as well. So how do you kind of manage that, and what is the way forward for that?
So first, as if it was any consolation, K Electric is eating into our profits, right? And then
big time.
The shark attacks that keep on happening. In fact, I was actually woken up today by a member complaining that, hey, I'm trying to reach your team, internet nahi chal raha. Halaki it was just a matter of actually a few minutes. But then people obviously
people take it for granted. Like people think that they pay for the service. तो अगर आप खुद manage कर रहे हो,
absolutely.
I mean, we felt the same actually in CoSpace as well. कि अगर आप खुद pay कर रहे हैं service के लिए, तो you kind of take it for granted कि आपका for example AC है, you know that the bills have gone so high. अगर आप किसी भी बाहर के मुल्क में काम करेंगे, तो you would take sustainability into account. So अभी जो recent हमारे internet outages हुए थे, Ahmed, how did you guys deal with that?
So what we've done is that we have 3 to 4 ISPs at every location, right? And on 3-4 ISPs के भी multiple fiber connections हैं.
Right.
So
kind of
जब भी
switch.
कुछ भी होता है, we sort of ad hoc basis पे हम लोग switch कर देते हैं, इधर कतार, उधर ये वो सारी networking इधर उधर.
नहीं, this is so true because I think पाकिस्तान में काम करने के लिए आपको एक बैकअप रखना पड़ता है, उस बैकअप का एक बैकअप रखना पड़ता है, और उसके बाद उसका एक और बैकअप रखना पड़ता है.
Another interesting thing that I actually want to tell you is that business is dynamic and very flexible, and workspaces that you've seen traditionally are very fixed, and as is the community and everything around it. So Workhall wanted to change that, right? But then there are times when as you just said that you can't provide all the services with 100% efficacy, right? So what do you do then? So the only one thing that I learned from a podcast I was listening to back in the days was that you answer it with hospitality, right? If you lack in service, अगर आपका कुछ खराब हो गया, नहीं चल रहा, आपके बंदे absent है, कुछ भी हो गया, तो a smile on your mouth, on your face, could actually turn things around, right? And that's also what sort of like community aspect उसमें भी सारा आ जाता है, right? कि I always tell my team that Workhall is 51% hospitality and 49% service. So that says a lot about the way we do things at Workhall.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that have come out from Workhall that I've seen, as a person looking into your social media and regularly following it, is that you guys talk a lot about community and community building. How has that shaped, and how have your members benefited from that?
At first I used to think that community is just a buzzword, and it probably still is for a lot of people, right? But but community is actually forging those relationships with your clients, right? It's not necessary that a member sitting in the opposite room is going to talk to another person. But the way that you intentionally create your workspaces, you need to let it happen naturally. You can't force community or force someone to talk to each other, right? And it's just people with a pure heart, people with a clean heart can actually take this mission a lot further by inculcating those.
And I think with the advent of co-working spaces, I think a lot has happened and a lot has changed as well in the way we work or in the way that freelancers look for work as well. I mean, co-working spaces, I know for sure, have also benefited a lot of freelancers and startups as well, finding the right kind of people that have that have specialization in somewhere else, and rather than recruiting for that individual person in your team, they've actually outsourced that work to a fellow co-worker. And I think Workhall has also had some successes like that as well.
100%. I think 70 to 80% of our clients work amongst each other.
अच्छा, okay, that's very good.
In one
अगर किसी को
location.
काम चाहिए हो शुरू में तो वो Workhall आ जाए तो उसको मिल जाएगा.
नहीं, अगर अंदर के भी कोई भी ऑफिस यूज कर रहा है, उनको भी अगर एक दूसरे से काम लेना हो तो वो वहीं पे हो जाता है.
Yeah.
And I think that is only because of community and the efforts that we put in, and Allah has been too kind. But this sort of happens when your space is allows for that actually.
Yeah. तो अहमद, मुझे बताइएगा कि कोई ऐसा particular experience आप share कर सकते हैं जिसमें this has happened that there would have been a couple of people that have benefited from collaborating with some other team, or that have कोई फैसिलिटेशन हुई भी हो, या कहीं किसी का काम फंसा हुआ तो किसी और टीम ने हेल्प करी हो.
ये तो बहुत दफा हुआ है हमारे साथ ही कितनी दफा हुआ है ये कि, and then I can't think of a particular example, but a lot of these freelancers who don't know each other and sit beside each other, उनकी दोस्ती हो जाती है आपस में, and then they go on and form companies.
Yeah, that's and then, so nice. And they find the co-founders through that as well.
They find the co-founders through that, and then they end up sort of progressing from a shared desk to a room that it's like a step up for them, right? And then this company that I remember, it's called Smart Benefits. They found their CTO through Workhall.
Okay.
And then hundreds of these examples that हमारी 5-6 locations में होते ही रहती हैं ये चीजें.
Oh, that's great, mashallah. So do you do what kind of things that you do for community building at Workhall that maybe other co-working founders can benefit from, or somebody like me can benefit from as well as a CoSpace founder?
I'll tell you.
Share your secrets with us.
So there is absolutely no secret. I always believe in actually doing
knowledge sharing. I've always found you a person that has always shared your knowledge with as well.
100% insights and knowledge. Not only with competitors, actually with people who are actually using your office space as well. It's okay to talk about your difficulties out in the public. There's no harm. No one's going to judge you. People who want to judge you, they're probably not the right kind of people, right? And then I'm sorry.
And there's so much good that comes out from it as well, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Sharing your knowledge.
And it's all good and healthy competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so what kind of things that you do for community building?
So these are the most talked about things whenever we do it. They're called the power mixers.
Okay.
Right? So
you have like a
very invite only.
I've never been invited to that.
Yeah, because
I don't have a space in Workhall, right? That's why.
we actually always end up doing one like 48 hours in advance. We make a WhatsApp group and then invite all the who's, and then on a very short notice.
Why am I never on that group, Ahmed?
Because I've never gone. Because see, this is the thing, right? This is not our core.
Right.
This is not our core business. I mean, it's an addition to
the things that you do already.
Things that we do already, but as I said, that your core is supposed to only be providing office spaces.
Yeah.
And make sure that your services are consistent with that of other traditional office spaces as well, because that's the core, right?
Absolutely.
People are going to look at that and then join us, right? And all of these, I think, all of these speaker sessions and these happy Mondays and all of these. I mean, I don't know what the use is for these things. I mean,
at the end of the day, you need to work as well. Yeah. And that's the core thing that you need to be focusing on.
That's the core thing, because people who join us, they're growing by the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they don't have
they're
time.
hiring team, they're expanding, they don't have time for this. They have their own culture to take care
Absolutely.
of, right? If they sort of
Yeah, I mean, talking about culture, that's a really important point that you're raising here, Ahmed, because I've seen, I mean, this is some of the things that I've heard from some of the teams as well, is that, our culture kind of gets destroyed. Sometimes with too much mixing with the other team members as well, because हर कंपनी एक अपना कल्चर लेकर आती है, एक अपनी HR पॉलिसीज लेकर आती है. काफ़ी दफ़ा ऐसे होता है कि कहीं पर अगर फॉर एग्जांपल किसी कंपनी के अंदर अगर रिलैक्सेशन है, flexibility है या hybrid working spaces हैं, I mean they're joining a co-working space, and then some of the other companies are more rigid in that sense. Then the employees also, when they get to know each other and they talk about, I mean, sometimes it could be for the benefit, but sometimes it brings a lot of negativity and traction to the company as well.
Oh, it does actually. Yeah. There's a lot of conflicting wires actually that that don't really hold well. But there are a lot of big companies whereby their culture sometimes dominates our other companies who are in the Workhall space, right?
Right.
For example, our Workhall KDA, it has 100 people of one company, and then 5-6 of 2-3 other companies as well, right? So it's all about managing each other's expectations. Right. But I know their founders well, which is why I was telling you that we form relationships with people.
Yeah. So I mean, talking about 2018, I think just after a year, then we had COVID as well. And it was a very difficult time for a lot of co-working founders to survive that time.
So I'll tell you how we used to spend our time. So all the necessary social distancing requirements, sanitary requirements, we all fulfilled that.
Yeah. All the tables
and then Allah was very, very kind to actually allow us to retain our employees without actually sending them home. So we did that. And then our occupancy had actually gone down to 20% instead of it being 80-90%.
But I think that also then after COVID, people started thinking more of co-working spaces, because आपको जो security deposit देना होता था, जो rental देना होता था, वो नहीं देना पड़ता.
You being the CoSpace founder, you have absolutely nailed the proposition of a co-working space. That is absolutely it. मैं अभी भी कहता हूँ 10 बंदों का अगर आपको ऑफिस चाहिए हो, आपके 30 लाख रुपए उड़ जाएंगे.
जी हाँ. And with the cost right now, the generator cost and the
generator तो मैंने इसमें 10 बंदों का लगाया ही नहीं. आप तो UPS पे अभी
the furniture and all that as well.
Generator तो आप कहाँ हैं?
Yeah,
अभी.
that's right.
तो ये तो इतनी सारी चीजें कि I don't think.
And then also, अगर आपका business नहीं चल रहा, for example, then the cost to absorb, for a business to absorb that cost as well, that really is a lot to take on a company who is starting off as well. कि आप पहले एक space लें, फिर उसके अंदर from the water cooler to the water dispenser to putting the ACs in, the furniture in, and if the business doesn't work, then you're kind of left
that's how
selling it on OLX.
I'll tell you a little anecdote, like an insight. That's how Workhall is actually very flexible. In a way that if you're a 10-person company, you're going to buy 1,000 square feet office traditionally, right? Rent it out and stuff. So all the fixed costs are going to be for those 10 people.
Yeah, that's right.
Although the team that you currently have is for 3 people.
Absolutely.
Right? So what we do is, even if you want a private office for 3 people, or if you want a bigger private office so that you could expand one day and sort of fill all those seats, we can start off your contracts with the amount of people that you already have. So you need to pay.
That's the beauty of being flexible.
That's the beauty of flexibility, right? Because if business is flexible, then why can't your space be flexible as well?
Absolutely. Well, I know when we started CoSpace, we had to, from the repair work to the construction of the space, and they kind of give you like a box. So आपको, cost भी कम रखनी है, but you have to then also work on giving a premium space as well to the customers, to the furniture as well. And I know that you started another thing along with that called merch.
But then we actually, I mean, we were trying to start it back at it again, because we do build our own furniture. So if we can build furniture for ourselves,
co-working spaces के अंदर हमको सब बनाना ही पड़ता है. You have to like make
सब बनाना पड़ता है सारी चीजें. Like for example, this table, I actually know the code of this table. ये कौन सा है?
ये हमने खुद बनाई है.
ये खुद आप लोगों ने बनाई है. I know I actually know the code of this lamination that you put it on, right? And then the thickness of these tables.
We have to know everything.
And the gauges and everything, right? So
और light के भी जो points हैं, और
light के सारे points, and then it's I mean kid you not, being an accountant and converting myself into half an architect and half
you have to do the interiors and everything yourself.
interiors and everything.
And then being a startup as well, you have to save on a lot of cost as well. I remember that we were designing the first space for CoSpace. The kind of bill that we got from a consultant architect was in millions.
Wow.
And Umar and I, we just shoved that up and we are going to do it ourselves, So that's the kind of thing that I know that not just us, but all the co-working space founders have to do that to save on cost.
What we did? We benefited off of the community aspect of Workhall, whereby a person who was an architect wanted to join us. So we did sort of like a barter arrangement whereby they could help us design layouts.
Oh, that's a very good idea.
And so
I have to find an architect now in my team. Yeah. No, that's really good, and maybe you could have found.
And then, very interestingly, when I was able to raise some money for Workhall back in 2017, 2018, I was in the middle of construction, right? It was a small space, 2,300 square feet, right? So during construction, I would often think to myself, man, what have I gotten myself into? Because this is a business that not only requires actually getting a space on your own terms, but then you got to find architects, you got to find the right people to actually build it. But then यहाँ पर काम उस वक्त खत्म नहीं होता, फिर आपको
शुरू होता है वहाँ से,
वहाँ exactly right, वहाँ से शुरू होता है. आपने इतनी सारी चीजें कर ली, अभी तो आपका काम ही शुरू नहीं हुआ है, अभी तो मार्केटिंग है,
उसके बाद कस्टमर मैनेजमेंट एंड क्लाइंट हैंडलिंग and listening to their problems and day-to-day operations, and with the kind of
day-to-day operations and having 6 locations now, alhamdulillah. I still don't know how we do it.
अब यही इसी तरह अगर हम बात करें तो अगर आपको अपनी कोई खुद की स्पेस लेनी है, then you have to invest so much money into getting all these, from the clerical staff to the chowkidar to the security guard, given the situation of our,
and all of them have to be
trustworthy. Yes,
all of them
absolutely.
have to learn how to work with each other.
Absolutely. I completely agree to that. And especially the clerical staff, I think that is a really, working in this field for now 8 years, I think I can say that clerical staff जो है अच्छा होना वो बहुत जरूरी है आपका, because that is the staff that runs the day-to-day operations of the company as well, especially the co-working space.
I'll tell you something very interesting. I learned this from one of the people who I really admire. So they said that you should always hire A players, right, in your team, and then completely blindfoldedly sort of trust them to actually find other A players. Right? Because if you find a B player and that guy actually ends up finding a C player, then a D player, so it's gonna explode.
Absolutely.
Right? So which is why we make sure that we hire the right people and retain the right people. Because team is everything to me. Because I tell so this is probably a bit counterproductive or counterintuitive, but I always tell my team that the team would always come first, right? Then it's the members, and then it's our partners and other stakeholders.
It has to be, I think, a linkage between the team members and the partners and the clients and yourself as well.
100%.
Because I think a lot of times the vision of the founder is translated into the team, it's translated into the co-members, it's the vision that you carry as well. And like you said, Ahmed, that you come with a big smile on your face and, you kind of sort all the problems. I wish we could have him for a couple of days at CoSpace as well and show that smile. Otherwise, I'll keep seeing my face.
No, because keeping a happy face, it's just,
Yeah, I think that's something to learn from, right? That whatever you're going through as, on the operation side, you have to come up with a happy face and you have to try and calm things down. And Ahmed, right now you are already, mashallah, at 5 locations. You just told me now that you've locked the 6th location, mashallah. So you're going really well in Karachi. Do you plan to now go towards other cities and kind of take over them, or internationally? What are the future plans?
Not anytime soon, because sunnat bhi hai ye ke pehle aasan cheez karo, and then Karachi itna bada hai, right? Ke if you're doing so well in Karachi, then why don't you find other spots? Because Karachi mein, as you know, there are no spaces available now.
Absolutely, it's all
the buildings
blocks.
that you see on Shara Faisal are either old or being newly constructed.
Oh,
We've got to
yeah.
wait for those buildings for Workhall to actually,
Yeah, there's
and
one constructing
CoSpace
just over there.
CoSpace to
Don't
actually,
eye on that one. I've
yeah,
got my eyes on that
yeah.
one.
So maybe we could do something together in the future. I mean, I would love to. I would love to. If you
Yeah,
can't beat them,
inshallah.
join them.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Philosophy.
बिल्कुल.
So it's okay. I mean, जितना आपका लिखा हुआ उतना आएगा.
Absolutely.
Right?
And this is some of the things that, Ahmed, when we met actually a few years back, and we actually bonded because of, the kind of information that we were sharing with each other as well, and the kind of things that we shared, from carpet के vendor कौन से हैं, और
नहीं मुझे अभी भी ढूंढना है carpet का vendor, कुछ
हमारे पास बहुत अच्छा है, we'll share the
मैं
number
वही
with you
सोचता हूँ कि
inshallah.
क्या हम लोग अपनी spaces में carpets लगाएं, क्या
जी,
नहीं लगाएं,
जी,
because
जी,
again this has to do with one of your questions that you asked me earlier, how do you maintain member expectations? I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
Right? You got to learn.
But you have to keep
along the way.
upgrading. You have to keep changing yourself.
Yeah.
You have to keep meeting their expectations. That's how you grow. You get on the top as well. They keep asking and you keep providing.
And then, interestingly, there are a lot of co-working journals and, all these news articles that keep on coming whereby the trend of co-working is declining. Yeah. But then I think it's all cyclical.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more now, because I think जैसे कि हमारी अब youth आ रही है entrepreneurship की तरफ, and I can see that there's a growing trend of becoming more. I mean, I hope that it's they come up with more sanity than they have been in the past. But I think just now, and also on the other side, a lot of companies have moved as well to the or the startup founders have moved to the US and to European countries as well. And I think for them to manage their operations in Pakistan, it gets difficult if they have an independent space.
Which is exactly how coworkingspaces.com is actually such a brilliant platform, right?
Thank you so much for that. Yeah. I was thinking when it's going to come.
Yeah, exactly. This is the point.
That's why we called you here. That's why we called you here,
Yeah.
The coworkingspaces.com.
The coworkingspaces.com. Please follow the website.
Ahmed, मुझे बताइएगा कि जैसे कि हमारी ऐप है Spaces Manager and the coworkingspaces.com, the platform itself as well. How do you think it will benefit you as a cowork founder?
I think the demo that was shown to me for the space management, it's pretty useful. I mean, we'll probably, inshallah, use it in the near future.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ahmed, for joining us today, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having
and sorry for waking you up so early.
No,
thank you very much, Ahmed, for
coming
today.
Thank you.